Hello, and thank you for joining me. As a quick recap of introductions, I am Brian Morris, a solutions architect here at SUSE. This is the third installment of our video series providing an overview to our managed service partners hosting SUSE Linux enterprise images, which can include SLES and SLES for SAP applications on behalf of their tenants. Please note that in the YouTube description for this video is the URL to the setup guide and the URL to the general RMT server installation guide located on the SUSE documentation website. The setup guide has been updated for SLES version 15 SP3 or higher. Today's video will be focused on repository management within the RMT server. The prerequisite here is that you have a fully installed, fully patched, fully updated SUSE RMT server functioning properly and that has been registered with the SEC. To begin repository management, refer to the setup guide, which is your documentation authority. To re-emphasize a particularly important prerequisite here is ensuring we have adequate space for the RMT repository. Without this, updates will come to a screeching halt at some point, usually at 2 a.m. when the coffee's not brewed. This section in the setup guide covers the basic space requirements and relocating an existing repository if necessary to expand for immediate or future requirements. The temporary relocating of an existing repository to expand current disk allocation is not necessary if using logical volume management. Also, just to refresh your memory from the previous video session, the repository disk space calculation is approximately 1.5 times the total size of all products enabled. Once you have the repository space created and in place, you are ready to populate it with the products desired. The setup guide illustrates this command, RMT CLI products list all. Go ahead and run this command. This example is a broad command with no filters applied that will show you all the products you could choose from. I say could choose from, since in reality you will be limited to utilizing the products you have a subscription for. If you know you are looking for specific products, say limiting it to just those that are related to SLES version 15 SP3 and further filtering to the x86-64 platform, you will use the following command instead. RMT CLI products list, pipe that to grep for 15 SP3, and pipe that further to grep x86-64. You'll take note of the 4-digit number to the left side of each product displayed. In the list above, the base system module is product number 2145. Following the instructions in the setup guide, you would enable this product for mirroring simply by using the command RMT CLI products enable 2145. If you did this, rerunning the RMT CLI products list command with the same filters as before, it would show you the same list here, but the product 2145 would state mirror where it stated don't mirror before. And in the case of my already running RMT server shown here, it also indicates the timestamp of the last mirrored update from the SEC. You may enable multiple products at the same time by simply entering the product numbers on the RMT CLI enable command line, space delimited. Remember to plan ahead for products in repository space. In this particular case, I myself failed to enable all the client required products during the initial process of setting up my lab environment, and it cost me time, considerable time, and more than just a little frustration. Pre-plan as much as possible your client needs when it comes to product selections. Enable them initially if you believe them to be important. Will your clients possibly be DevOps? They will need the DevOps related tools. Will they be deploying SAP or high performance computing, or maybe just desktop use? Enable those respective products. After you've accomplished this, you are ready to sync your RMT meta database and mirror your RMT local repository with the SUSE master database and repository. There are system timer processes that are started to sync and mirror by default every 24 hours. However, you can manually trigger the processes by running the command shown here. In the example screenshot here, the RMT CLI sync is checking for any metadata database update since the previous sync. However, note that the RMT CLI sync does not initiate the actual population of the repository from the SEC. To manually perform this step, utilize the command RMT CLI mirror. A small cautionary tale of patience here is that the initial mirror can take several minutes to many hours to complete, depending on your bandwidth and the number of SUSE products that are to be mirrored. Notice I did not include an actual screenshot of the command along with the output, as it is very verbose. With that cautionary note in mind, a quick tip that is not formally covered in the setup guide or RMT documentation. When you have more than one RMT server that requires identical or mirrored repositories associated together for registration sharing, if the RMT servers are on the same local area network, it is possible to simply copy the repository from the initial RMT server to the additional RMT servers. The sequence of commands would look like this. Note that we are using the rsync command to replicate both the repo and summa directories to the target RMT server. Now on the target RMT server, change the directories and their contents to the appropriate owner and group attributes. Lastly, you will want to rsync the new repository. Repeat the remote copy, change own, and change group commands for all additional RMT servers. For associated RMT servers not located on the same local area network as the initial RMT server, it may be more efficient to mirror the initial RMT server within that region directly from the SEC. As a final step, you will want to ensure that the contents of the copied repositories are identical using the command shown here. Compare the output of each RMT server from this command for consistency. Now that we've completed the implementation of our RMT servers and populated the repositories, remembering to ensure they are identical with one another in product inventory, we will take a brief pause before moving to the next phase with the RMT servers, and that is setting up registration sharing in the next video. Thank you for taking the time to view this video.